All right. Hey everyone, Tina here from No Commerce. Today we're going to be talking about what your customers aren't telling you yet and the survey strategies you can use to unlock your biggest CRO opportunities. So, again, I'm Tina. I'm the fractional head of marketing here at No Commerce. And why use real customer data for CRO? So, traditional analytics tell you what happened, but surveys can tell you why it happened because you're hearing directly from shoppers themselves. So there's two critical points in the funnel that I want to focus on today. The first is immediately after the purchase, so understanding what drives conversions and keeps customers coming back. And second is after cart abandonment, so understanding what's stopping your customers from making the purchase in the first place and then using strategies to be able to bring them back to finish that conversion. So post-purchase surveys, let's start there. So post-purchase surveys are a way to ask customers direct questions when their experience is very fresh in their mind. Again, they've just finished a purchase with you, so they've gone through the experience of browsing your store, clicking through items, adding items to their cart, and then pulling out their credit card to complete the purchase. So the experience is super fresh and there's a lot of insights they can share with you. These surveys can be embedded right on the checkout confirmation screen or sent via email through a link. So there's a lot of insights you can uncover here about the customer behavior and their decision-making processes, even direct feedback on what's working or not about your buying experience that you're offering, or even just understanding if there's friction points across your website that are causing people to potentially not be able to complete their purchase as fast as they'd like to. So post-purchase surveys can help you uncover all of this data. So there's three kind of critical areas that I recommend focusing on with post-purchase surveys. First is attribution. So where are your customers coming from? How did they hear about you? Was it through TikTok or was it Instagram? Next is preferences. So why did they choose your brand or product specifically? And then the third is barriers. So what objections almost prevented the sale from occurring? And when setting up your surveys, it's important to ask questions that lead to actionable insights rather than just interesting questions. So asking things like, do you like our brand? Yes or no? Might feel good when people say yes, obviously, but what are you actually going to do with that data? There's not a lot of ways you can apply that. So we recommend breaking your questions down by purpose, audience, and product, and considering what your customers need to know about to make your product, brand, and marketing efforts more effective. So in other words, questions need to be applied to a specific use case. There should always be a reason why you're asking something, not just general interest. So feel free to screenshot this page. These are some of the most common questions that we see brands ask, and I've broken them down into purpose, audience, and product for you already so that you can understand what those use cases and intents are behind them. And while these are great examples that you can use all the time, they are also really helpful for focusing on CRO specific use cases. So for example, for product discovery pain points, asking something like what almost stopped you from purchasing today can give you a lot of feedback to refine things like your navigation or your search functionality or even your product categorization. For things like perceptions of website design and experience, asking what did you think about the checkout process? This can tell you a lot about your user experience, and maybe things that you need to streamline for simplicity or site speed or even clarity on messaging. And then preferences and personalization opportunities. So asking something like, why did you choose our product? This can inform personalized recommendations, even homepage designs and landing page content as well. And then source of traffic insights. So how did you hear about us? That question that people ask a lot. This can help you double down on specific channels that are not only going to drive just the most traffic, but actually the highest converting traffic. So maybe you do see more traffic come from Instagram versus TikTok, but even though TikTok drives 20% lower traffic, it's actually converting 50% higher. So things like that are important to keep in mind for the type of channels that you want to make sure you're spending your precious ad dollars on. So most shoppers don't buy on the spot. We know this in a consumer behavior report we pulled at No Commerce. We actually found that 61.3% of shoppers take longer than 1 week to decide to make a purchase. So there's two things you can do with your post-purchase surveys here that again are going to help with CRO. First is segment your customers based on new versus returning. And then second is ask questions that are going to drive meaningful change. So going back to the things I just said leading up to this point. And then 2 examples of things you can ask. So for newer brands with less than 1 million to 2 million in ARR, you can ask things like, was there anything that almost prevented you from buying today? This is a really helpful question for uncovering hesitations and hurdles that these potential customers might be facing. So do you need to introduce like a buy now, pay later option to reduce purchase friction? Or do you need to refine your website copy to address certain value propositions that you may have overlooked? And then for established brands that are kind of in that 2 million plus ARR range, asking, was there anything difficult about using our website today, can be very helpful. And this question should start with just a simple yes or no, followed by an open-ended prompt to answer if yes. And then if they say yes, say, what was it? And these can just give very, very specific answers into what's causing that friction. And this can reveal things like maybe there's hidden errors in the checkout process that are costing you sales, or maybe you have limited customization options and people wanted more variants for your product bundles. And that can be frustrating to them because they're not finding the things that they need to complete the bundle in the way that they want to purchase it. So again, beyond just that, feedback that's collected now can be used to shape your future campaigns, your product launches, and even your long-term messaging for future CRO opportunities. So let's look at an example. With post-purchase surveys, Swim Outlet is a leading retailer of swim products in the States. Partnering with No and using post-purchase surveys, they discovered 2 really important insights. Number 1 was new customers weren't opting into the loyalty program, and that's because they found the value proposition was not clear enough. Second was existing customers loved specific perks such as exclusive pricing, like accumulating rewards credits of up to 5% and early access to new products. And so they combined this after receiving this feedback. They totally refined their program messaging to emphasize the most appreciated benefits, and this drove a lot more opt-ins and reduced churn for their loyalty program. They phased out less relevant features, and they ensured the efforts on the loyalty program were only focused on what mattered most to customers. Also, one of the most surprising discoveries with their post-purchase survey actually came when they introduced a question about swim teams. So before No Commerce, they assumed that the majority of their customers, around 80%, were a part of swim teams. But the data from their survey told a totally different story. And in reality, they found out that only 51% of their customers were actually affiliated with swim teams, while the other half represented a much broader audience to just recreational swimmers, people who just loved being in the water, loved swimming. So this insight led to a big shift in how Swim Outlet approached product offerings and marketing those products on and off the website. So refining their ad messaging, even who they're targeting in their ads, and making sure they're not just hitting up those really pro swimmers, but also, this huge chunk of people that loved their products and aren't professional swimmers too. So totally opened up their market to how they could market to these potential customers. Okay, let's switch over to abandoned cart surveys now. So unlike post-purchase surveys that refine the experience for future customers, abandoned cart surveys can address the immediate roadblocks that are happening, and then you can bring those customers back potentially to finish the sale. So they should be a total CRO priority because there's that immediate impact, like I mentioned. There's high return on investment. So by acting on that feedback immediately, you can recover those lost sales and prevent future issues of people abandoning their carts for the same reason. And that's where that preventative power comes in as well. So understanding these abandonment cart reasons to proactively reduce friction for all future shoppers. So customers abandon their cart for several reasons. These are the things that we've kind of seen come up the most for all the reasons across everyone using No. It typically comes down to extra costs. So things like fees, unexpected fees on shipping, duties, and taxes, required accounts, so forcing people to create an account before they can actually complete a purchase. This kind of deters first-time shoppers who are maybe not sure if they want to be that close with your brand yet. And then delivery issues, so the shipping might be too slow, or there's a lack of clear delivery estimates that is making them not confident in making the purchase. A frustrating checkout process. So is it too complex? Is it too time consuming? And then just overall distractions. So mobile users are especially prone to this, like switching apps or just getting interrupted while they're browsing. So sometimes people just get distracted by other important things that are happening. So We recommend adding your cart abandonment surveys to your cart abandonment email flow. So you can include a survey link in your emails to engage customers after they leave their cart. So for example, a flow could look like the first email is focusing on obviously recovering that abandoned cart with a reminder like come back for your items, and a secondary CTA could then lead to the survey. So this could be sent within the first hour of someone abandoning their cart. And again, that first CTA should really be focused on just bringing them back to finish the purchase, because it's still fresh in their mind. Their intent to finish the purchase could still very much be there. So you don't want to distract them by asking them to take a survey yet, but it could be a secondary CTA. But by the second or third email, you might be able to switch the CTA to be the primary focus to have people complete the survey. And then you can use messaging like what stopped you from completing your order, help us improve. You could even include a light incentive like a discount or free shipping for completing the survey. And by this point, especially by the third email, it's probably unlikely that someone is going to go back and complete that purchase. They're just not ready to buy at this time. So that's why surveys can be a really good next step, because you can at least get some actionable insights from those customers who aren't ready to buy just yet, and then potentially prevent the same thing from happening in the future. So once you get these insights from your customers filling out the abandoned cart survey, you should always follow up based on what they're saying. So you can use tools like Klaviyo to sync your survey responses into dynamic email campaigns. This is something that is offered by No through our integration with Klaviyo. So for example, if someone says that shipping costs are too high, you can offer free shipping thresholds. Like free shipping for orders over $50, and you can also bake shipping costs into your product prices to avoid surprising them at the checkout. If the checkout process was too complicated, you could follow up to those specific customers by simplifying the forms and removing unnecessary fields, and even adding quick payment options like Shop Pay, Google Pay, or Apple Pay. If delivery times were too long, you can do a better job of displaying estimated delivery times on product pages or the cart page, and then go back to those customers and offer expedited shipping options for potentially an additional fee. If the extra costs were unclear about the shipping and duties and whatnot, then just make sure you're being way more transparent about these fees on your website, on your product pages, even on the cart page, so that expectations are being managed early and often. And then if a customer was just browsing, which just happens, sometimes they're just checking out stores, they have no intent to buy, they're just seeing what's out there and how much it's going to cost them. In this case, you can add those customers to a nurture flow that continues to just highlight trending products, new arrivals, or seasonal discounts, and just play the long-term game with them. And that leads me to my last point here, which is don't stop too soon. Some customers may need more time for follow-ups. They may need to learn a lot more about your brand before they're ready to buy, and that's okay. So just make sure you are always nurturing those customers and don't give up too soon. You can extend your cart abandonment flow by sending a final reminder email even a few weeks later too, to potentially bring those customers back. So some best practices for high impact insights. Number one is keep it simple at first with your surveys. Start with easy, familiar questions like how did you first hear about us? And place open-ended questions later in the survey so that you're not intimidating customers too early. Tailor your surveys to different audiences. So again, new customers might get more attribution-based questions, while returning customers might get deeper engagement questions because you've already established that relationship with them and they're ready to share more. And then just always refresh your surveys every couple months to keep your insights relevant, or even run different surveys. We have brands that just run surveys leading up to Black Friday, Cyber Monday, so that they can learn what type of ads they should be running for the peak season. So there's a lot of different use cases that you can think about as the year goes on. And then some common mistakes to avoid is leading with open-ended questions. This can totally deter your customers away. So you want to ease them into these questions and start simple. And then don't stop at 1 to 3 questions. We've actually seen customers willing to answer 25 questions or even just 6 to 10. I would say the average is around 6 to 10. But some brands are really crushing it with 25 long question surveys. So, and you always get the insights no matter at what point someone decides to drop off. If they drop off at, question 10 or whatever and don't make it through all 25, you still get their answers for up to the 10 questions that you can use and be able to sort through. So keep that in mind too. And then avoid vague questions like, how was your experience? And instead ask about specific drivers or barriers to their purchase. Because remember, we want to uncover CRO opportunities here. And then incentives like discounts might get you more responses, but they can also lead to rushed and less honest answers. So you actually don't need to incentivize customers to fill out a survey. A lot of brands actually don't with post-purchase surveys or even some abandonment cart surveys. So just know that some people, when they get the opportunity to share, they're happy to do it with you. All right, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And I hope you learned something today. And you can always reach out to me at tina@nocommerce.com if you have any questions from my talk. All right, get ready for the rest of the other talks today because they're really, really good.
Welcome everyone. So this is the intro to UX UI strategies that work, and I will be going through how to do all that on Heatmap. So first, Heatmap, we are the only heat map that tells e-commerce brands how to make more money. You'll see some beautiful logos and people who trust in us, and super happy to have them as partners. So why me? I'm Dylan Ender. I'm the founder, big nerd, love CRO. I founded and exited 2 e-com brands, founded and exited splittesting.com. We were one of the largest CRO agencies in the world in the e-com space. Run over 4,000 split tests, and I've optimized over $5 billion in e-com revenue, which is a couple of nickels. And also, you showed up today, so you should probably listen. So just a little on Heatmap, right? The only site that shows you how to tell you to make more money. We do this through revenue-based heat maps, revenue-based scrolled maps, our revenue-based screen recordings as well, and Heatmap AI, which takes all your data from over almost 15 trillion data points we have right now and just passes it on in for you. So why heat maps are important. Google Analytics and other on-site softwares, quote unquote, they show page-by-page data, and they show where the issue is. Like, cool, this page is not performing, but what on that page is actually not performing? It doesn't show what the issues are. That's what heat maps are really the gold for. So they're the only way to understand what on your website is driving revenue, but also where you're actually wasting time and money. So that's what makes them so mission critical. As a fun one here, as I always say, clicks don't pay the bills and revenue does, which is what heatmap.com does. So right here in navigation, we have about a little over 400 clicks on this crossbody section. But on this all bags, we have a little over 918 clicks. So which do we think more revenue is being driven from? In the chat, 900 or 400 clicks? It is almost 3 times as profitable for this 400 clicks than it is for these all bags. So if you're using any click-only heat maps, you are absolutely losing money on the table, misleading, and probably making incorrect decisions for your bottom line. So we don't want that. We like making money, not losing money. So why heatmap.com is even more important. Clicks alone, you don't know who's buying. If screen recordings show who purchased and did not, you're wasting hours if you don't know that. And we care about how people buy, not how people click. I don't know about you guys, but I don't care about clicks. I care about money. And the best thing about this is that we actually show not just how to improve your website, but every single area of marketing on your website. And this is kind of how. So if you're looking at this FAQ here of a leather goods brand, they have tell me more about the leather, what sets the company apart, how do you recommend bags based on my style? But the number one highest revenue per click is what's the return and exchange policy? So of all the FAQ questions, that one is driving the most. So what do we do there logically? Great. We put return and exchange policy everywhere we possibly can because it's important to the customers and that's what makes them go on and buy. So here you have heat map data, and obviously this helps with offer testing, landing pages, on-site optimizations. But if you now know that the return and exchange policy is great, maybe toss that into your ad creative or your ad copy. After that, put it into your email and SMS flows, because to the people who haven't purchased yet, we know this is what drives revenue on the website, not just what sets our goods apart, right? You could sit there and say, our leather is sourced from here and our leather is better than competitors and it does X, Y, and Z, but they made us care about the return and exchange policy backed by data that you just saw. We want to add it to the website, of course. And copywriting, really, wherever copywriting lives, we want to put that in there. So all really important, and it shows how just what most people think is just an on-site tool actually helps every area of marketing, and all the best marketers do it this way. So 7 fast revenue growth opportunities with heat maps. Number 1 is product gallery optimization. As I'm sure you guys know, everyone who sees on a product, everyone who makes a purchase on an e-commerce website has to look at a product page and or landing page. So if you rearrange the photos on your product gallery based on revenue per session or revenue per click, it's going to increase revenue for free, no increase in ad spend. What we found is that images typically influence 70 to 80% of the purchase, which most people don't think. Most people think it's a lot of the UX and how you're putting everything together. Just plain old images really improve a lot. And the other thing is that it's above the fold, meaning 100% of users see it on any product page. So it's very high real estate, and the only way someone can purchase those images are mission critical. So if you take a look here, this is what the product gallery typically looks like. And in here, we have all the images and the revenue per session of each of them. This third one right here, which is a little written testimonial, also super interesting in my opinion. You have different revenue per session here. You'll see this one is $4.24 every time someone clicks this one. If someone clicks image 2, it's only generating 41 cents. So it's something that's really interesting to think about. If you just simply rearrange these in this order, you're going to get a tremendous increase from here. So again, right here, rearrange the product carousel based on revenue per session. And images 2 and 7, I would probably just remove those because they're so much lower than the others. Don't even worry about them. You could remove them or you could replace them if you want, but I would just recommend removing them. You can see here, 10 images is more than enough to visually communicate what people are actually looking for. And this split test drove an extra $20,000 per month for this brand. So $250,000 a year of extra profit, that's not nothing. 2, product tiles on collections pages. So most visitors check them out to explore the range of products. And the reason I love collections pages so much is it's kind of like you're walking into a brick and mortar store. You don't have a salesman down your throat saying, hey, what do you want? What do you want? You just get to walk around freely, find the ones that are most important to you and match what you want to buy the most. And typically convert really high because you get to just go where you want and find the product you want. And the thing I love about collections pages too is it's whoop, doop, doop, drag and drop, or maybe swap in a new product. So it takes very little development, resource, and time. So it's a quick ROI, really tremendous ROI. But the best thing as the twist, your best-selling products are not always best to have at the top of your collections pages. I guarantee if you're watching this and you're not a current Heatmap user already, having your best-selling products, you probably have the top of your collections pages, but it's a different spot in the buying journey. It's not bottom of funnel on your website. It's not the last thing they do. They may be searching around, and if they find some interesting products, it may not be the one that they eventually purchase, but the first one they look at, it will influence the one that they eventually buy. So bestsellers at the top is not always. What happens is the best converting ones will go at the top. So prioritize revenue per session and revenue per click just like it is. Just like the product gallery images as well. The ones that have the highest revenue per session, shoot them on up to the top. The ones that are really low or terribly low, remove those, and you're going to print money on your collections pages. So these are like conversion magnets, which is what we talk about. It's showcasing products, but not selling them too aggressively. And focus on profitability and conversion rate per product tile instead of just putting your best sellers up at the top. So reorder, drive revenue, focus on revenue per session, revenue per click, and then demote the low performing products. So here's a beautiful case study here. You got 6 of them up at the top. What's crazy here is product 4 drives 70% less revenue than even number 6, right? So you have one that is likely below the fold if you're looking at it. So when someone visits the collection page, this sleeper product, I would call it, is generating literally 9 times the revenue as number 4. So why not put that the heck up there? You're going to make so much more money. So, right, you need that there. We didn't run a formal split test there, but that client is very happy and scaling aggressively. Number 3, FAQs, which are an absolute hidden gold mine. We analyzed over 50 million sessions that had FAQs in them. So if you can guess the average revenue per click of FAQs compared to other elements, just a little heads up, it is actually the highest and most potent element on a product page. So little in the chat, you can go ahead for it. What do you guys think? 500% increase, 5% higher. What it is? 12% higher. May not sound as crazy, but if you think about it, all the elements in your site, your FAQs are driving the most revenue. Let's do that. But I think that's the absolute shame. Only 18% of customers on average ever see FAQs on a homepage, which is where FAQs have the most potent impact. So Why they're a gold mine? Number one, they're already, getting the rebuttals and the questions that customers already have. Number two, they fill the gaps, that like leaky content bucket of things you may not be covering in the actual content of the website. They also give you content that should be added everywhere or removed everywhere. Like I said in that earlier slides, it's not just about FAQ, rearrange, reorder, rewrite. It's really marketing everywhere. So how to print the money? Number one, you want 30 to 50% of users on a page to see the FAQs. Usually they're down at the bottom, 10, 15, 20%. You want to get that up on the page. That split test has rarely ever not made a positive revenue impact. And we've got a case study here as well. So it's something that's really great. Number two, determine the highest revenue per session questions, just like usual. Remove, rearrange, and rewrite the lowest performers. So a leather goods brand, this is the one that I showed before. Question one brought in nearly no revenue. Only less than 5% of customers were even seeing this FAQ, and then we rearranged the FAQ based on the revenue per session of each question. What we did here, you can dig in deeper. These are really the reasons why and like what we were able to take away from it. And this is just another one to show another case study as well. This is an Innersole brand for shoes, which is kind of like in the health wellness product. You can see based on these, the questions are all about how they fit into shoes. We need more content about how these fit into shoes. They also don't care about the athlete or the sport as much, even though the website's very geared towards what sport they play. They don't care as much. And the warranties, exchanges, and additional questions are actually losing money. So if you want to add a quick $600,000 for the year, this is what we did. We simply took question number one and we removed it. We rearranged the remaining questions from highest to lowest revenue per session, and we moved the FAQ higher on the page. And based on this screenshot right here, it's a little hard to see, an extra $55,000 a month of new revenue. Really quick, took 10 minutes, hell of an ROI. TLDR, you guys know what I said already. This is just a quick little one. Next is optimize that sweet navigation. So find highest revenue per session elements in the navigation, prioritize them, and remove the low performers or stuff them into your sub-menu items if you do have them. So Heatmap AI can actually tell you exactly what to do. And here's a case study. And this one recommendation from Heatmap AI increased revenue from a specific page by 35%. That is not nothing. So right here you can see this is the order of each of them, right, on a cowhides company. What they did is they saw, ConversionWise, which is a proud partner of ours, great agency, they saw that the current sale, the clearance sale right here, was actually the highest revenue per click element, revenue per session as well, of the whole navigation. So they put it up here and they prioritized it with this bright red saying clearance sale. A lot of people get there easier. And they also saw, which I was very proud of them, that on the search bar, based on the actual, not in the navigation, but on the outside, had a really high revenue per click, but not a lot of clicks. So it was amazing as they put both of those into here. Again, hard to see, but a 35% increase in total revenue from that page. Again, rock and roll, really high ROI, and amazing. So again, prioritize, give emphasis to those high revenue per session elements, remove other ones that are not performing, and then print money, 6 money signs, that's a lot of money. So filters and search bars, I felt that that was logical based on what the last test was. So we all know search is important, right? They're actually just behind FAQs, the second highest revenue per click element on an e-commerce website. The filters on collections pages are also, the second highest really. They're mission critical because people just want to get what they want to faster. Kind of like if you think in a, brick and mortar store, it has all the lists of the aisles up top so you can kind of quickly see what you're interested in and just go straight there. That's what filters and sort options do on collections pages. And when they have a high revenue per click, prioritize them, very much so. So another case study, who don't like data? So this is a beautiful one, That Works, which is another amazing agency partner of Heatmap. They went and literally saw that this filter and sort option was the highest revenue per click on the entire page by far. So what they did is they prioritized this right up here and made it sticky, and my beautiful face is showing. 14% increase in AOV, which was very useful and very valuable. So again, here, filters are being used highly. If not, you can leave them alone. Each product type and each company is different based on industry. If sticky bars work the same, also make the search bars sticky and across the screen. And this one, we got another 6 money signs. It's another high value one. Add to cart buttons and CTAs. Everyone knows they're there, but people don't really tweak them as much as they should. They're very valuable. So add to carts versus alternative CTAs, call to action versus add to cart. Some places are great to have call to action buttons. Some are areas where they're trying to absorb info, not be sold. If you've call to action buttons everywhere, they're going to feel sold to. And like I said, in the brick and mortar store, they're going to feel like there's a salesman breathing down their neck and not so much like they have the freedom to navigate and do what they want. So there's multiple ways to get people to a product page. We just need to know the best one for your brand and where on each page. Do they want to directly add to cart or see the product page first? Is typically the two options we have there. So game time. What's the higher revenue per click button? Here, we've got a beef jerky company. You'll see there's the add to cart buttons here and then the view product right below it. Just for reference, the add to cart button has 2,000 clicks right here. This view product down here is only 750 clicks. If you were using a regular plain old click map, which would be better? You'd probably prioritize this and delete this. But this one right here has a way higher revenue per click. Way, way, way. It's literally double the revenue per click. So what I would do here, we didn't run a formal split test, but I went in and changed this around just a bit. That we found customers want to view the product on this homepage. They don't want to actually click to add to cart yet. They're not ready. The view product converted very well, so let's use that same text and just put it into one, remove the add to cart, and change it to this button. This would have a tremendous revenue lift. Unfortunately, no case study to back it, but hopefully you take my word from trillions of data points. This would work beautifully and likely for your brand as well. Another little side note is view product is kind of like a softer call to action. You're not like selling them. It's like, hey, go check this out. Again, like the aisles at the top of brick and mortar stores. So I found that view product is just a general really good practice. Instead of buy now or like find it now, it's like go view product. It's really casual. People are more encouraged to actually go shop. Lastly, bucket testing. This is a very underrated one and one that I absolutely love. So something is a big topic of scroll depth. How far down are people going? Inside of Heatmap, we call this visibility. So at the top, above the fold, you have 0 scroll depth. 100% of people see it. Then the footer has the highest scroll depth. Granted, you shouldn't move your footer up the page, but let's say on average about, 10, 15% of customers get down to the footer typically. So, but the lower something is, if it's very important on the page, you're adding scroll depth to it, so its impact is far lower. So that's something that we need to do very importantly. So what bucket testing is? Bucket testing, a bucket is a full width length on your, full length section on your page. So if you have like an about us section and it's full width, then that's a bucket. Then below that you have a product carousel, that's a bucket. So each of these buckets, rearrange them based on how much revenue is generated per bucket. If one's lower down on the page and only 40% of people see it, why don't you want 80% of people to see it? Because it's already driving a ton of revenue. So another case study. I thought you'd like that too. I like data. So this is on 5 reasons why, really there's 4, but this is on a listicle for a supplement company. Even without the CTA, like it doesn't need to be buttons. A lot of people read with their thumbs on mobile and read with their mouse on desktop. So you're actually able to see on Heatmap people that are clicking around in a certain section if they eventually go on to buy or if they don't. And again, bucket 3, away from my beautiful face, this is the one that had the highest revenue per click, which was this third one here. All we did was rearrange that and another huge increase of 14% on this one here. So that was huge as well. So again, bucket test, you do this on your homepage, very effective. Product pages are slightly as effective, but landing pages are really the #1 place to do this. So if you like what you're seeing here, you want to check it out. Soon we've got 4 major features coming out. Talk to one of our CRO experts here. The pricing adjustments recently we made make it very affordable for brands above $5 million a year. You'll lock it in forever. We've got one other surprise, which I will not ruin on this phone call here. So open for questions, Q&A. Hope this was useful. Chat, light it up.
Hey everyone, this is Jerry Wu from Intelligems, re-recording the webinar that we presented on the 29th of January. I'm here to talk to you about profit growth and some additional levers beyond CRO. Quick intro to me. I'm the GM of Advisory Services at Intelligems, a profit growth platform for e-com brands. Our core product is an A/B testing suite that lets you test anything on your site, from content edits to prices, promotional offers, shipping, and more. I lead the managed services practice, where we can take testing off of your plate and onto ours, from coming up with a testing roadmap to designing and executing tests to interpreting results and providing recommendations. But that's enough of the pitch from us. Here's diving into the content. So I always like to start with introducing the profit growth framework and how we think about maximizing profit dollars. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the profit equation, but I wanted to rehash that here. So we start with essentially 4 components. 1, visitors, it's who comes to site. 2, conversion, what percentage of folks actually check out. 3, average order value, how much people spend when they check out. 4, profit margin, the proportion of dollars you actually get to keep of that order after you've subtracted out the costs. And the combination of these 4 components drives your profit dollars. For every test that we run, we want to understand whether or not we've actually driven more value to the bottom line. I really like this framework because most of the traditional CRO levers also fall into this framework. So for example, let's say you've made a site UI or UX change. Let's say you introduced FAQs onto your site and bagged a 12% increase in conversion. Typically, most of those site changes, you're getting something for nothing, right? You're typically not affecting these other components of profit. And so a 12% increase to conversion flows straight to your bottom line into a 12% improvement in profit dollars. I like to contrast this against what I call economic levers. So pricing is one example of this, where you're typically trading off different components. For, let's say, you lower prices by 10%. So you're typically trading off a lower profit margin, potentially lower AOV as you've reduced the sticker price of your products. But you're betting on a larger uptick in conversion as customers feel like they're getting more value for the product. And then 2, possibly an increase in traffic and visitors too, as prices are sometimes shown on various marketing channels like Google PLA. Of course, it's super important to test these dynamics because they could be really impactful in one direction, but customers may not be as price sensitive as you think they are. So a price reduction may not actually work out in the long run in terms of driving out more profit dollars. But if your customers are not as price sensitive, perhaps that's an opportunity to increase prices as well. In terms of economic levers, it's not just base pricing, where you're trading some value where you're either giving away some margin for a conversion lift or trading off a small conversion hit for an expansion in margins. It can also extend to your promotional strategy and how you think about prices and your offers during sale periods. To AOV builders. So how can I deliver more value to customers to induce them to drive more a larger order? It also extends to your new customer acquisition and reactivation offers. What is the amount that you should give away to try and attract customers for that very first purchase? And then even inventory management, where you think about different approaches to incentivize customers to move unhealthy inventory, but doing so in a way that doesn't cannibalize the sales of your healthy products. So one economic lever, but also site experience that I really like testing is a free gift threshold beyond free shipping. So what this is typically sites have a free shipping threshold. Let's say it's at $80. Adding a threshold or a target beyond that in which a customer would unlock a free gift. And then while testing this, it's also a really great opportunity to potentially test lower free ship thresholds as well to yield additional learnings. I really like this test because there's impacts across multiple levers. So on the conversion side, there's an opportunity to increase conversion as you're incentivizing customers to kind of pull that trigger. Especially if the product, the free gift is exclusive or limited, could really compel customers to convert. Additionally, with a lower free shipping threshold, this could also drive additional incentivization. From an average order value perspective, if you're giving customers a higher goal to aim for, there's definite potential to increase the size of the order that customers place. And then from a profit margin perspective, you're giving some value away, but what's really great about this approach is that there's some mitigation against the erosion of margin. So one, if you're able to increase order values, ship cost as a percentage of orders decreases. And then two, oftentimes the value of the free gift to customers is worth more to them than the cost of providing that gift, which also leads to some margin savings as well. So when we've tested this for some brands, we've actually seen a triple win, improving conversions, driving higher AOV, and even expanding margins as well, for the reasons that I've described earlier. In addition, in some implementations, we've given customers the choice to accept the free gift. And in those cases, we've seen only 60% of customers choosing to elect to keep the free gift, which also leads to incremental margin savings. One last learning as well is that introducing new cart thresholds can also change a customer's relationship to price and potentially their perception of value and therefore price sensitivity. So in one instance where we've actually tested this new cart experience, we also tested a price increase at the same time. For customers that had the control experience, so no free gift, customers actually responded quite poorly to a price increase. But under the free gift experience, we actually saw customers behave quite differently and actually responded more positively to the price move from a profit dollar standpoint. And we hypothesized in this case, the higher prices made it easier for customers to hit the order targets to achieve this new free gift threshold. And this ultimately changed the perception of value on site for those customers. So a key takeaway here is that as you change the customer experience and potentially change a customer's perception of value, this can ultimately change the relationship of customers with your baseline prices. So often good practice to reassess your price levels and remeasure your baselines on a fairly regular basis. All right, so key takeaways from the presentation here. So number one, there's a lot of there's multiple components to drive more profits. It's not just conversions, so don't overly fixate on just conversions. Two, economic levers can be really powerful, like testing price, promotions, AOV building strategies. And so those are good tools to add to your tool belt alongside conversion rate optimization. And then three, it's super important to reevaluate and revisit your baseline assumptions and measurements over time. Your customer base will change over time. The relationship with prices, the relationship with your site will change as well. So it's good to baseline on a regular basis. Awesome. Well, that's all I got for you guys today. Thanks for listening. All right, have a good one.